Good evening, my people. Welcome back to our channel. This is Victory Voice, the voice you know too well. Please join us now here we do. Subscribe, like, and share our videos as we have ever done. Now, the news is concerning Nnamdi Kanu. Of course, the British High Court has made an unconventional ruling in a significant human rights case centered on Nnamdi Kanu, a British national and the leader of indigenous people of Biafra IPOB. Kanu had approached the court to challenge the United Kingdom's government for not defending him despite being a citizen against Nigerian government. His legal team, led by John Halford, head of public law and human rights in Bindmans LLP, has said that in June 2021, Kanu was abducted from the airport in Nairobi, Kenya, by the Nigerian Security Service and was detained and tortured for around 10 days in Kenya. He was then flown blindfolded on private plane to Nigeria. In a statement on Thursday, Aloy Ejimako, special counsel to Kanu and IPOB, said though the UK High Court frowned at his rendition to Nigeria, it however ruled that the Foreign Secretary did not have to reach the same conclusion. He said the court also highlighted extracts from the opinion of UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention and the Nigerian court, which unanimously found that Kanu was subject to extraordinary rendition and which called for his release. The Working Group on Arbitrary Detention is under the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. The group comprises scholars and experts who specialize in human rights issues and related laws. In its report on July 20th, 2021, the UN group described Kanu's repatriation from Kenya in June 2021 as illegal, unlawful, unconstitutional extradition. It also called for the immediate release of the IPOB leader and the compensation by the Nigerian and Kenyan governments for the way he was treated. In the document, the body also indicted both governments of Nigeria and Kenya for Kanu's abduction and rendition. Despite the call by the UN Working Group, the Nigerian government has, however, failed to release the IPOB leader. Ejimako said, whilst Mr. Justice Swift noted the findings of the UN Working Group in arbitrary detention and the two separate rulings from Nigeria's High Court and Court of Appeal that Mr. Kanu had been extraordinarily rendered to Nigeria following his interception in Kenya by Nigerian security forces, and observed himself that Mr. Kanu had been subject to rendition. He went on to hold that the Foreign Secretary was legally entitled to make no decision on whether this is the case or not. Bindmans LLP, the legal team acting for Mr. Kanu's family, described the ruling as extremely difficult to reconcile with long-standing legal precedent and the principle underpinning it. Mr. Kanu's case was heard over 4 months ago, on 15th of November 2022. In today's judgment, Mr. Justice Swift noted the evidence of serious wrongs having been committed against Mr. Kanu, including that in 2017, the Nigerian state had attempted to kill Mr. Kanu, for which a Nigerian High Court awarded compensation and an order for apology. For the Nigerian authorities captured Kanu in 2021 whilst he was in Kenya and subjected him to inhuman, degrading treatment, and crucially that he was subject to rendition. However, despite cleverly recognizing the gravity of the wrongs committed against Mr. Kanu, The court disappointedly held that Mr. Kanu had no legitimate expectation. However, despite cleverly recognizing the gravity of the wrongs committed against Mr. Kanu, the court disappointingly held that Mr. Kanu has no legitimate expectation that the British government should reach a firm view for itself on what had occurred or its its seriousness. This is particularly surprising given that the court itself reached the view that Mr. Kanu had been rendered on the basis of the evidence before it. The court's judgment is unsatisfactory not just for Kanu but for any British national who finds themselves subject to a serious violation of their right whilst abroad. It effectively enables the Foreign Secretary to prevaricate indefinitely in the face of such violation and consequently limit the steps the British authorities should take to assist a British national, even in circumstances where there is unequivocal evidence of that violation. The Kanu family had appealed against the judgment. Reflecting on the judgment, Kingsley Kanu, who brought the lawsuit, said the UK High Court has now joined the Nigerian High Court and Court of Appeal and the United Nations in recognizing correctly that my brother was subject to extraordinary rendition. That is something of importance. But I find it very disappointing that in spite of this, the High Court has held that the British authorities are not required to reach a decisive view on his rendition and can refuse to confront the mass of the evidence of what has occurred. Until the British authorities have reached such a view, it is impossible for them to properly consider what steps should be taken to assist. Kanu's family is represented by John Halford and Shirin Mecca of Bindmas. We are saying that Britain is actually the one detaining Nnamdi Kanu. You may think he's in DSS custody. Maybe Nigeria wouldn't have released him if British would say something. No, if they say something today that Kanu should be released, today they will release him. But that's actually what they're avoiding. The British court, High Court, they don't want to accept that extraordinary rendition because it's a serious crime against a particular government. It will be a very serious crime against Nigeria, and they will really pay that compensation and they will really apologize to Kanu. And that's a shame on both government because what Kanu has been complaining, lamenting, crying day and night is maltreatment against his people. And it is his right as a freedom fighter to make such claims, all right? And he has his evidence. It's not as if he's lying against any of this government, but he has his full evidence. The maltreatment, the suppression. Very, very unfortunate how UK government cannot say the simple, glaring truth that the whole world know as truth. They can't say it because if they say it, they are mandated to do something. That's why they don't want to even put mouth in that area. They don't even want to discuss it. Quite shameful. Shameful indeed. Well, just join us here on the channel next time. We are through with this one. God bless you.